Yo guys, what's up? It's Wayne, and I'm finally back with How to Scream 2. Alright guys, so some of y'all might remember me from How to Scream 1. I did it about 8 years ago. It got a lot of views, got a ton of comments. I get tons of messages, even to this day, from just a lot of metalheads. They're like, dude, you know, I owe you, like, this was awesome, or just like, hey, I remember you, like, all these years ago, and I saw one of your covers the other day, and I just can't believe, like, you're still doing this. What happened to you? And, like, all this stuff. Just couldn't find the time. I've been really practicing on guitar, working nonstop, just a lot of overtime, trying to get all this damn gear. I really love music, so I've been trying to build myself a music studio, and just in between that, just practicing and trying to get better. Long story, regardless, I'm back. I promised I would make this video like 1,000 times, so I'm finally doing it. I hope I have some type of information or light that you can get from this, or you can just fucking laugh your ass off at how crappy I am at metal vocals. I'm the old singer from Nightshade, for some of you who don't know me. I filled in for the band As They Sleep. I did some tours with them as well. And now I'm working on my own project. It's called Disrupt the Cycle. I write the guitars, record it, vocals, bass, drums, mix, master it, produce it, whatever. All the fun, man. So make sure you check out down below in the information box if you want to hear, you know, what I have to offer as far as Disrupt the Cycle goes. I'll be using some of the songs as examples during this video anyway, so I guess you'll hear some later. I spent a lot of time putting this video together. Like, I've written 3 outlines, scrapped them all. I've been thinking about them every day for years and years, so I don't think there's any other video online right now that's going to be able to compare to the amount of information and the ease and way that I explain how to do each technique. I think is going to be extremely accessible. So there's pretty much going to be 3 main sections of this video. I'm going to have theory and a conceptual standpoint, state of mind you want to have while you're screaming, before you start screaming, while you're screaming, afterward, whatever. You can skip that if you want, but I recommend you watch every part of this video if you really want to, if you're really getting started and you're really trying to get a feel for everything. And every little bit of information helps. The next section will be the warm-ups, and then the third section will be the screaming, and that's the fun part, right? I know that's what you're all going down there like, oh, I'm gonna skip up there, but warm-ups are really important. I'm really guilty of not warming up my voice properly on tour, and I mean, you can listen to my voice, and I performed for Nightshade on Lost in Motion on their album. And I had really, really strong, high-pitched screams. Like, I could do false chord highs, like, at this extreme sonic frequency, it felt like. It's like, but over time on tour, day in and day out, I was pushing and pushing, trying to hit those levels. And it was like, it really did do an effect on my voice, like, because I didn't properly warm up every night. I'm like, oh, I don't need to warm up. I'll just drink a beer, get up there, and puke my guts out. When realistically, it's like, that's what you want to do on tour because, like, you're tired, whatever, you know, whatever. But if you're not doing it every day like that, you know, warming up it's still a really good idea. I'd highly recommend it. I wish I would have. 8 different techniques is quite a bit of information to take in your first time. Listen to the techniques and diagnose what kind of voice you have. Like, if you have a higher voice, it's probably a good idea to start with, like, a high scream as opposed to, like, if you talk like this, you can't scream like this. It's just common sense. So, when I first started, like, all I could do was growls because, well, my voice is low and it just felt natural to me. And I just kind of just picked what was natural. It took me about a year to be able to do anything else. And, like, during that first year, it was really difficult. It was lots of vocal tearing and, like, it was inconsistent and it really, I mean, yeah, it was powerful, but it wasn't applicable to really use for an entire song. So just like really getting to that point was just a trial and error type of thing. And I hope to help you guys cut that part out. Like, that's why I'm making this video. So like, you know what to look for, you know what feels right and what doesn't, and what to change. So let's get into the first section. I know I've been talking this. I just love to talk, I guess. I felt like this is all pretty necessary information. So let's get into the theory. All right, so my first piece of advice is before you even start screaming, go into it with confidence. Like, get in that state of mind, like, I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to scream, and it's going to sound good. And I'm not going to let anything around me affect the way that I project my vocals. Because if you do, if, like, let's say you do have some hesitation, like, or like you're embarrassed, you think someone's going to hear you, and it's like, oh, I don't want to sound bad, or just, I don't want them to judge me, blah, blah, then you're going to clench your throat up while you're screaming. So, I mean, like, naturally, that's just facts. If your throat clenches up while you're screaming, that adds vocal abrasion. So it's like, that's just going to do damage to your vocal cords. You want to keep your throat loose, you want to stay loose, you want to be in there with confidence, and you want to have fun. Like, if you just go into it with that state of mind, you're just going to have such an easier time learning everything. Like, that was a big problem for me, too. Also, it's like, when you're screaming a line, let's say, it's one of your favorite lyric lines, like, say it the way you mean it. Because, like, if you scream with a reason, your voice is just going to sound better. It's going to be more impactful to the listener. And it's going to just add that little bit of extra edge that everybody needs these days to just stand out in the crowd. Kind of a reiteration, honesty goes a long way. And practicing in a place where you feel comfortable is very important. Like, when I first started screaming, I was around 15, 16. I was just starting driving. So, like, the car was just my place, like, all the time. Every time I was driving in my car, I'm that dude fucking sounding like a drowning rat down there trying to figure out how to do gutturals, like, but you got to do it somewhere. And it's like, or I'd go in my closet. Like, if you watch, like, my first cover ever, like, I was in the closet, locked in my mom's closet, and it's just a place I felt comfortable. Like, I felt like I was isolated, like, no one could hear me, there was clothes around me, and it was just like, actually, it had nice acoustics too, so it just ended up being a nice place to record, period. But regardless, yeah, just be in a place where you feel comfortable, and whatever. Fuck 'em, right? Metal's gotten pretty popular, like, over the past few years. I mean, there's a lot more metal fans now than there was 8 years ago. And as a result, the audio technology and production value of a lot of these metal albums coming out now are higher and of better quality, which is great, because I remember when metal sounded like crap pretty much all the time, and it was kind of unlistenable. But now with all the modern advances and, like, cheaper equipment, just makes it all around easier to make and sound better, like, for an average person to do, which is awesome. So, like, in the modern day, a lot of your favorite singers you hear on your CDs or, full album, large, well-produced albums primarily, the vocals are generally double-tracked, either with one vocal type done twice, the second one with a lower volume, or, like, two dynamic vocals, like a high and low on top of each other to really add emphasis on, like, a syllable. Like, I do that myself when I'm recording. Like, I'll do a double take on one line. On the last word, I might do a high, like, on the vocal layer, and that'll add that extra blast. And if you really sit down and take your time and put your headphones on and listen to your favorite albums, a lot of these things will start popping out to you, and you'll be able to pick up on them. So that's really important. Listen to a really good sounding song and pick it apart. Put it on your headphones and try to really hear what the vocalist is actually doing, and that's going to help you in the studio. Now, as far as your live sound goes, your microphone does so much more work than you could imagine. Having a really large PA and singing into a Shure SM58 is a lot different than having, like, a small little, like, house PA and, like, you're singing through some crappy microphone. Like, you feel weak. You really do. It's almost demoralizing. Like, you hear how huge your favorite screamer sounds on your favorite album, and you go and you try to scream in this little magic box, and it just sounds, you sound like you're singing into a tin can. And you just need to put that into perspective when you're learning this kind of stuff. Like, just think about how much dynamics are added to your voice and reverb in a live scenario when it's amplified, 10 times through a really nice set of speakers. It's all about mic handling and not having it too close to your face, not too far. And your sound guy makes a big difference too. Everybody's voice is different. Metal's very particular. Like, everybody's voice is different. There's a lot of dynamics. Fries are quiet. Growls are loud. There's just so many variables that can affect your performance in a live scenario. So understanding all these principles will help you understand how much force you actually need to get the sound that you want. So you got to picture in your head, what sound do you want? And then find that exact level of force you need, that exact volume. Don't scream harder than you have to. If it's not the sound you're going for, why do more? Now, if you're going for like a George Fisher Cannibal Corpse, like death guttural, like, yeah, it's gonna be loud. You gotta be loud, and that's not something everybody can do for an entire set. Listen to the dude when he talks. His voice has suffered, but damn, he sounds good when he picks up a microphone. So just figure out the exact sound you want, understand your equipment, understand your environment and your limitations, and things are just going to be so much better for you, and you're going to feel so much more confident about progressing yourself. So while we're on the topic of this theory and whatnot, and just the state of like the way metal has changed, there's a lot of these deathcore bands coming out. They have like super, super low, powerful gutturals the whole time and just switching back and forth between highs and lows like all the time. And some vocalists can really do that because they put in the practice, and it's really nothing to them. And but some guys, like, they feel like they have to be like that. And so like in the studio, like, I think they kind of take it a little bit too far, like to the point where it's like, it's not metal anymore, man. Like, this isn't Britney Spears. I'm not trying to auto-tune. Like, metal's supposed to be raw. Like, that's what it is. I think we're kind of losing that realness factor, and like feeling disconnected almost with some bands. Like, and like my friends will show me like a really great band, and the vocalist just sounds like freaking super, super low. Like, how the hell is he getting that low? And I'm just wondering. And it's like, there's tons of studio tricks you can pull, like, nowadays. I know, like, Pro Tools, like, I can show you right now, Pro Tools comes with, like, a toner, whatever, it's a guitar pedal. And, man, everybody can sing like Phil from, Whitechapel, like nothing. It's ridiculous. Like, hold on, I'll check this out.
Oh, no, can you go?
Now, that's not what my voice sounds like normally. This is what it sounds like.
No, can you go?
But, that's already pretty low. And I feel like adding that extra level is just kind of goofy. It's so fake, and I almost feel like deathcore is like WWE wrestling these days. Like, I feel like I listen to a deathcore album, like, there for the entertainment, like, knowing it's fake. Like, they're not actually screaming like that, but hey, I might be wrong. I'm really into trying different vocal techniques and really trying to push the limits, trying to get as low or high as I can. And it's like, to my ears, it pops out to me when I can tell, like, there's no way that you're achieving that sound naturally. Like, I might be wrong, like I said, and that's up to the listener to decide, but knowing that these tools are easily accessible is like, just kind of like, okay, like, there's definitely a possibility. But regardless, it's not a competition about how low or high you can get, and that's kind of like, I feel like that's the direction metal's been going these past couple years, and it's rather upsetting me. That's why I'm loving to see bands like Gojira get really popular, and like other bands with varying vocal styles, like new original stuff, like unique sounds, because like the super low going super low to super high to super low it's cool. I love bands that do it. Like Suicide Silence executed that excellently, and I don't think that they should have done it any other way. But there's a lot of people that are just trying to sound like them, and then they're feeling the need to use these tools to achieve it. And it's just like, if you use the tips that I give you, you'll have no problem achieving a good natural sound, like without having to use these. Go in there with confidence, practice, stay loose, just find limitations of your voice, and everything will be good. All right, so let's get into warm-ups here. We'll jump right into a diaphragm expansion technique that I really like to use. I actually learned it from a scuba diving book when I was like in elementary school. Used it one day and used it consistently ever since, and it's really done its job. I gotta say, I use it every day. Right after I wake up, I do a diaphragm stretch, and I use it once a night before I go to sleep too. And I also smoke, so I'm not really trying to stretch my capacity as much as maintain it. Because, I mean, everybody knows smoking does reduce your lung capacity, so if I can kind of like stabilize it, I don't know, it's worked for me. I haven't lost any lung capacity, so anyway, let's jump into it. It's going to be stretching your diaphragm, and I'm going to show you where it is. I mean, I'm sure you've heard many other places that you need to use your diaphragm when singing and when screaming, and there's all types of... That's probably the most common question I get is like, how do I know if I'm using my diaphragm right or whatever? And I'll try and reiterate how to use it later. However, we're just going to locate it right now. The best way for me to verbally explain it is it's probably about 4 inches above your belly button, and it's located right below the division of your rib cage, right in the center there, right where they start to split. About an inch below that, you can feel it. That's your diaphragm. Okay, so this breathing technique is going to be centralized around breathing with that area. Okay, so we're going to be trying to keep that nice and loose and fluent, and we're not going to be tightening it up until we start screaming. So we want to keep it loose until that point. We got to get it ready for work. So this technique is really great for when you're starting to scream, because I've actually worked with a couple people that I was trying to, get them introduced to screaming, and their biggest problem was being able to hold a note for longer than half a second, which is not only a lung capacity problem, but it's also a control and technique problem. I just didn't have enough time to work with it. I'm not sure they were comfortable, and they might have been like slightly uncomfortable and intimidated maybe. I don't know. It's scary to do it, I guess, your first time in front of someone. So yeah, I mean, I was nervous. Whatever. Anyway, what was I gonna say here? Oh yeah, we gotta stretch that thing out. So I gotta sit up here. You're going to be centralizing the breathing through your diaphragm. However, the area that you're going to physically see moving up and down is the area right below the diaphragm. That is the reservoir for the air. So your diaphragm is the muscle you're using to expand it and compress it, but the area below it is the reservoir. So in my last video, I said, okay, we're going to fill your stomach up with air. That's how I said to do this technique. And people were like, no, you're filling up your diaphragm. It's not your stomach. I'm like, well, you're not filling your actual diaphragm. Your diaphragm's a muscle. Like, whatever. So we got that cleared up. So that's the reservoir we're going to try to expand. And the bigger that is, and the more control you have over it, which this exercise will also help you have, the more consistent your screams will be, and the longer you can hold them. Or if you want to do a false chord scream, which requires a lot of air quickly, that's going to help you as well. So let's get started with the stretch. We know where your diaphragm is. Now we're going to breathe in, and you should see it rise up and down. If you breathe and you see your chest expand or your shoulders rise, you're breathing, you're using this muscle, you're using your chest muscles to breathe. You can technically do it while you're screaming, but when you breathe in with your chest, chances are you're going to want to breathe out with your chest. And if you're breathing out with your chest while you're screaming, that's putting some serious strain on that muscle. And chances are that muscle is not strong enough to last a sustainable amount of time. And once that muscle starts to get tense and tight, then the whole thing starts to shut down. You can't use your diaphragm anymore because your chest is tight. That's constricting your lungs. Your breathing is all screwed up. All of a sudden, you're 2 songs into your set and your chest is locking up. I've dealt with this 100 times. I mean, I had in my head that I wanted to use my diaphragm, but you get into it, you start getting heavy, and you're trying to keep the crowd going and keep energy moving, and it's like you forget. So it's really important to not only use it while you're screaming, but I've found to also breathe with your diaphragm all the time. Like if you can breathe all the time with your diaphragm, then you won't have to worry about doing it. You won't even have to think about it anymore. You're just gonna do it when you scream, and that's the way you want to do it. It's gonna keep it natural. It's healthier to breathe with your diaphragm. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. So just try to make it a new habit. Okay, so we're not breathing with our chest, not raising our shoulders. We're filling up our stomach. There, let me stand up here. Okay, so I'm gonna take. This is an example of exercise. I'm gonna take a pretty full breath in, almost to maximum capacity. See how my stomach rose there? Now, once you're at maximum capacity, you think, how am I supposed to expand past this point? Well, fill it up, and then we're going to take small sips of air. And immediately, you're going to feel that area start to tense up, like, whoa, what are you doing to me? Like, that's too much air. Once you get to that point, like, don't take big sips of air. The trick is taking very small sips of air. And as you take small sips of air, get it right to the point to where it becomes uncomfortable. Okay? So at that point, okay, my stomach's full. Once it's uncomfortable, we're going to breathe out nice and slow at a consistent rate. Now, keeping a consistent rate while you're doing the exhale will prepare you for keeping a consistent rate on the exhale of your screams. It just gets you in the flow. Everything starts to feel more natural. Just become one with the exercise, and the exercise will become one with you. Really, that's the best way for me to explain it. And I would do this like I said, I do it about 2 times every morning, 2 times before I go to sleep. And say I'm sitting there at the line of the gas station and clerk's talking to a dude forever. I'm just trying to get a pack of cigarettes. Like, I'll do a little breathing technique. Like, why waste the time? You got time. Why not do it? So, yeah, little stuff like that really helps. It adds up. A couple problems I had with this warm up on my last video. A couple people said they were getting lightheaded after doing the exercise, and I kind of laughed. I was like, well, I mean, you're breathing in more air than what you're used to. I'm like, so yeah, I mean, your body's not used to holding that much air in and drawing it out slow. That's the whole purpose of the exercise. It's getting you prepared. Because if you think you're lightheaded now doing that, imagine trying to hold a scream at a consistent rate, pushing it out with that maximum level of air. I mean, you'll start spinning, and it's like, little things like that get you in the rhythm and ready to perform. All right, so I got that one covered. I don't think there were any more problems with that. Oh, one more thing. I remember someone posted on the video, they said they had asthma, and it was really bad for them, and they use that technique every day, and it helped alleviate his breathing problems. It didn't make him go away, but he said it was a lot easier for him to relax and calm down when he had an attack, and they happen less frequently. I was like, dude, that's awesome. Like, I would have never expected that. It's all types of cool stuff. But the next technique is a humming technique. Now that we got our diaphragm loosened up, we know where it's at. We got to loosen up this part primarily. Now this hum, the cool thing about this hum is it's going to warm up the entire rest of the passageway all at once. The trick is to do this hum and push out with your diaphragm at the same time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you right here. Okay, so we're gonna fill up our diaphragm with air. We don't gotta stretch it this time, just like mostly full, like 80-90%. Okay, so we're at maximum capacity or close to it, and we're going to do an exhale hum, and we're going to do it at a slow, consistent rate, just how we exhaled earlier with the breathing technique. We're just going to be vibrating our chords. When you do this hum, you're going to feel your throat vibrating like you're talking. Like just say a couple words, put your hand up to your throat, and like you're checking your pulse. It's vibrating, right? It feels like your cell phone's going off. Okay, so that's good. The trick is to not only have your throat vibrating, but you want the rest of your passageway vibrating as well. So the first thing we do is you'll close your mouth, have your lips sealed, and then begin to hum after you've done your breath in. Okay, you sound kind of goofy, whatever, but it's something that needs to be done. You'll feel your lips start to vibrate because your lips are sealed. Okay, so now your throat and your lips are vibrating. Now, if you're pushing from your chest, you're not going to feel the vibration down the rest of the passageway. The trick is to not push from up here with your hum. You're going to push from down here, down in your stomach. And when you do that, you should start to feel a slight vibration down lower, deeper. And that deeper once you hit that, you know you're using the right, you're executing the passageway properly. So once you feel all three vibrating, you can go ahead and open your mouth, and it will sound like you're saying mom. So we'll go, everything's vibrating, and maintain that same consistent flow. And when you open your mouth, that's expanding your vocal cords a little bit. So, and then close your mouth again. I use this great example of why this technique is necessary, and I highly recommend you do it. Every time I don't do it, it hurts. It hurts afterward more than it should, and I'm just like, damn it, why didn't I do it? And it's like imagine it's a hot summer day, and you're about to go jump in the swimming pool. Like, all right, yeah, I can't wait to cool off, but like, for some reason you're living in like the twilight zone, and the pool's 45 degrees, and it's like 90 degrees outside. You jump in that ice cold pool, and all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, like it just shocks your body. You're freezing cold. You just want to get out immediately, right? You get out, and like, your skin's stinging, like it was just too big of a shock, right? It was just too big of a change. Well, that's what happens to your vocal cords when you try to perform a harsh style of vocal and you don't warm up. Like your vocal cords are cold. You're trying to add heat. You're trying to put brute force straight up on them. And they're like, no, why are you doing it? Like that, they could stay in there. They could stay in the pool, but it's going to hurt. Like, it's going to hurt eventually. You're going to get out and it's going to sting. So that's the best way for me to explain that. I'll go through the hum one more time. You're almost going to feel like a vibration up in your jawline, almost, and if you're doing it really good, you'll feel the vibration up to your ears too. Like it'll just be like a whole humming sensation throughout. And this is kind of like a simplified version of what like Melissa Cross teaches. She teaches some weird like like witchcraft mumbling crap. I mean, like, that's good. She teaches you to use the same passageways. She just has you say syllables. And honestly, like, when I'm warming up, I'm usually doing it like right before I'm about to perform, and I'm literally on stage, or like about to be. and like I'm turning my head, like about to do the first song or about to say something, and my mic's over here, and it's real loud. No one hears me what I'm doing. I just look like I'm over there, like taking a spit or something. You know what I mean? So that's the reason I do that. I mean, you can definitely go about and start saying syllables and all that. That'll only help loosen up your vocal cords more. I'm just giving you a tip for the bare minimum, something that you can do real quick and do it like unnoticeably. So, all right, and that's it for my warm-ups, guys. Like, we stretch the diaphragm, stretch the vocal cords, got them warmed up. Like, to me, really, that's all you really need. You know. All these techniques hit all the areas that you need to take care of. I mean, you could do like mouth stretches, like whatever. You like open your mouth real wide, and like it's not really a problem for me when I'm screaming. I'm more worried about keeping myself loose and relaxed and confident. Like those are the three things you need to keep your eye on. Screaming it's technical, but it's not necessarily precise. So once you got the mechanics down, you're a machine. You know, you just become a machine. You can do your job. You just hit the key, turn on the machine, and it works. All right, so let's actually get into the screams. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me talking, and I'm kind of tired about talking about warm-ups too. let's get it done. All right, guys, so we're here. The vocals. Dun dun dun. Got the background track ready to roll. Let's go start with the basic growls, just like I did in the first video. I mean, so just a brief synopsis of this technique. It's not quite a super low technique, but I mean, you're still pretty down there. Like, it's more of a brute diaphragm force technique as opposed to like a dig deep vomit technique. Like, you're not trying to like push your gut out to the point of vomiting. Like, it's more of just like a tightening of the abs, one, ensuring that you're using your diaphragm to push, and tightening your abs is kind of a way, it's kind of like a cheating way to make sure that you're using your diaphragm. But if your abs get tired, then yeah, you have to ensure that you're using your diaphragm without tightening up, because there are some techniques where you don't really want to tighten up your abs, because the whole point of the technique is to give your abs a break. That's how I look at it. Like, if I'm trying to write a song, I'm trying to write it for live execution. I'm not just trying to do it all for studio and sound, which, I mean, it's up to you. You can definitely do that, and if you're not going to eventually play the song live anyway, then hell yeah, go crazy, man. Make it a crazy studio project. Do the craziest monster stuff you can. But the series of techniques I'm about to teach you guys will help you maintain maximum projection at all times. That's my goal as a vocalist, and it should be yours too. If you want to write something, it should be authentic, and it's going to sound more authentic. One band that really does that well, I'm not the biggest fan, but I do listen to Slipknot, and I gotta say, Corey Taylor is a genius as far as his vocal, and he's almost like a vocal engineer. Like, he strategically lays his clean talking parts in between his raspy, really harsh yells. And it's like, I've covered some of his songs, and when I'm covering them, it's like those sections of clean speak is like just enough to let my vocal cords relax enough to get back into the next burst. And so that's kind of a way to kind of think of things when you're trying to scream. You don't have to stay harsh the whole time. Give yourself places to breathe and understand that you're human. Although the whole point is to sound inhuman as possible, you're still human. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I got sidetracked. We're talking about the growl. It's not a guttural. You're just tightening your abs is a surefire way to make sure you're using your diaphragm. You're going to project up. And the thing that makes the growl different from a mid or a high is that it's going to be filtered through a lower passage in your false chord palette. So before I get into that, you have two sets of vocal palettes. Naturally, you have an upper one, which is your speaking voice, your regular vocal cords, and there's a set of vocal cords below that. and those are called your false chords. And when you're performing a death metal vocal, the whole thing about death metal vocals is you're not using your regular voice. You're trying to sound, well, basically as inhuman as possible. So the way to achieve that with a growl is to use your false set of chords only. Now, also having your speaking voice cords loose while performing this technique also allows for natural reverberation in the passageway above your false chords. So not only are you filtering the air through the passageway, through your false chords, you got them at the right tenseness, and it's shooting through there at like a high vibration. So that's adding distortion, and also the bounce on the way up will add distortion. You're naturally going to find ways to make it sound better because it's gonna be less painful. Your body doesn't like to feel pain. If you feel pain when you're screaming, you go to scream again, chances are you're gonna be a little tenser the second time. If your body's giving you that signal, it's a very good idea to don't do it again. I mean, if you wake up the next morning and it feels like you just got punched in the throat or like you just ate a bag of sandpaper, you're doing it wrong. And that's a surefire way to know that you need to adjust your technique. If any time while you're screaming, it does hurt, especially when you're starting, stop. Just stop. And I said that in my last video, and I do it all the time, especially when I'm trying out a new technique or something that I've never done, or I'm trying to figure out how to do it. It'll hurt. I'll feel something like a tear or something, and straight away when I feel that, I shut my mouth. I'm like, well, time to turn on some Tupac or something. I'll put on something different. But anyway, yeah, we were talking about filtering through the false chords. So I'm going to show you a hum technique that will help you locate these false chords, which is something I did not include in my last video. I said just kind of feel around and play with it. It's like, yeah, well, that could take fucking forever. Oops, I'm gonna have to bleep that one out. Yeah, it could take forever. And so a good way to locate it is going to be with this humming technique. You'll be able to hear it and you'll be able to feel it. The feeling is really what you want to feel for. It's going to be like a rattle. You're almost gonna hear and feel a rattle, like something's jangling around in there, and that is the sound of your false chords, and that is what you're going to use as your distortion passageway. So the technique is really similar to the hum that I had you do for the warm-up. If you skip that part, you can click here. I'll put a little thing there. You can click that and it'll send you right back to the hum section. We were humming and getting a constant vibration throughout. To get a step below that, to get to your guttural passageway, you're almost going to want to sound like you're trying to sound like an old man groaning. So I'm going to do that again. Can you hear that rattle? Instantly, there was a section there, I think it really cut through. You heard this rattle come through. And that rattle is your false chords. So while you're screaming, if there is a part of your throat that you're going to constrict to use for distortion, try to do it from that area. That is going to be basis to doing this type of technique. The other techniques do require you to use different parts, and I'll show you how to hear and feel those as well. But this is the best one to start with because you can do a low false chord mid with this. You can do a growl with this, and it's the foundation for a guttural. Your guttural is just going to be with more force, and there's a couple other techniques I'll show you. This is how they've been doing it for 20 years. The only difference is it's coming from someone else, so it's going to sound a little bit different. So I'm going to do what I did in my first video. I'm going to go from my clean sound and then try to transition into a growl. Now, I wouldn't recommend you do this because it's actually kind of painful, but I'm doing it for instructional purposes, so you can kind of hear my regular voice and then like the way it transitions into it, so you can kind of get somewhat of a visualization. So here we go. Now instantly, that was a really light scream. So instantly, you heard my false chord start that flap. It was like, almost like a switch. That was the second I tensed up my throat passage down there. Now, it sounded kind of weak, right? It sounded like some zombie shit. It sounded like... Well, that's because I didn't use any force from my diaphragm. That's what your vocals will sound like if you're not pushing from the right area. So I'm going to get back to that, and then I'm going to push with my diaphragm. And then watch the difference. The harder you push with your diaphragm, the tighter you get your abs, the better it's going to sound. So... see, all I did between that and my the technique before that was literally tighten up my abs. My throat didn't change. It was literally just how I was pushing it out. And that demonstrates to you how much force really plays a role in the growl. So if you don't have a large lung capacity, you're not used to using your diaphragm, you'll start to feel like lightheadedness or dizziness. Stuff will start spinning, or I've even had it to the point where my vision just kind of like whited out. Like I was just running out of air, wasn't breathing properly. So just keeping that flow, like once you find the technique, that's one thing. But then getting to the point where you can do it and do it comfortably and make sure you're breathing right in between is the true key. So now we know where in our throat we're trying to filter our vocals through. We know that we need to push from our diaphragm, right? Now, how else am I getting that sound, you're wondering? Like, there's got to be more to it. Well, there actually is. I was talking earlier about reverberation in the throat. Well, believe it or not, the execution of your growl is highly based on your posture as well. Especially the arc of your neck. Like if your neck is not upright, in the upright position while you're performing that technique, not only is it going to add unnecessary strain, but you're going to be doing all types of acrobatic contortion stuff in your throat to try and make it sound good. And another thing, it's important to use only as much tension in your false chords as necessary to execute the scream. Like doing anything extra is totally unnecessary, and it's like the harder you do it, quicker you're gonna wear down, and like that's where you need to build a little bit of endurance, but it's gonna help even more if you just only push as much as you need to. It's going to flow gently through the passage. You're not gonna want to like squeeze it so tight that it's like a squeaking mouse getting through there. Like at that point you're not doing it right, and you might not feel it while you're executing the technique, but you will after you're done with your performance, or you do a quick line, you go out to have a cigarette, come back in, and all of a sudden your voice is all tight and like you just can't do it anymore, and it's because you did it wrong. And you learn it the hard way, or just try to form good habits right away. All right, so I said I was going to do this, give you guys an example, so here we go. This is a section from Disgrace. You can check it out down below later, or whatever, if y'all like the song. I got it streaming on like Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. All my songs are, so yeah, feel free to stop by and...
Reaching outward, wave in the sky. Was the moment you broke to see the variation.
All right, so to follow up on that last note, by keeping your false chords loose, they're also going to have more play. They're going to have more give. That means, like, as you're executing your vocal, you could kind of hear, like, almost like a flap in my voice when I was doing it. That's because I know the exact amount of force I need for my voice to achieve the sound, nothing more and nothing less. And by doing that, you get like a natural flap, almost like a wetness in your voice. And you'll hear that in a lot of vocalists, and you wonder like, how are they doing that? Like you're trying to like drink water or get gurgle spit and do all this stuff to try and sound, get that sound. They're like, how is he doing it? No, it's just he's using less force actually, and that's the finesse part of it. That it just takes a little bit of time. I mean, some of y'all might get it right away. It might just come natural and just like sound like I think the singer from Carnifex is a pretty good example of someone with some really good natural throat flap. I'm not a big fan of the band, but he's a great vocalist and definitely got my respect. Just not really my genre of music, I suppose. Final note, after you're done with the technique, especially doing it the first couple times, I know I keep saying this, the first time you do this, first time you do that. Yeah, I mean, like, you've never done this. I'm not sure the body's really meant to do this. It's just something that you can achieve. I mean, it's gonna feel a little bit raw. Now, there's a difference between the feeling of like raw, like a little scratchy, and something's torn. Like you'll feel like a stabbing pain, like you just got stabbed in the throat. Like that's what it's gonna feel like when you tear something. It's not gonna feel like just like a scratchy throat, like, oh, you're thirsty. Like that's normal. Mark my words. Like that's just something that is your throat's gonna toughen up. It's gonna get used to that. You're not really gonna feel it anymore. But once you start feeling those sharp pains and like direct pains, like in one certain area, that's when you know you did something wrong, and that's when you know you just need to give it a break for a couple of days, and that's not a problem. Like that, you're not permanently damaged. Like if you're smart and you keep your mouth shut and you just give it a couple days to heal up, it'll be like it never happened. And then you're like, well, I can't do that again. All right, so let's just keep the ball rolling. We'll move on to high vocals. There are more forms of low vocals, don't worry. We'll cover gutturals later. But as for right now, I think for the series, I'm just going to move on to the highs. I'm going to cover two types of highs. There's a fry scream and a false chord. That's it. One's a little weaker, easier to perform. One's a little bit more powerful and takes more air and energy to exert. It's very difficult to do an entire song with false chords. There is one band in particular I know that can do it, still does it at the gates. Dude has incredible high control, and I mean, he's been doing it for, it's gotta be 25 years, something like 1991, 1988, I think they might have even formed. Regardless, that dude's been doing it for decades, and it's amazing he can still do it, to be honest. Actually, they just put out a new single last week. I thought it was pretty great. It's incredible. It's just like, if you do it right, you could just do it your whole life. It's pretty great. Okay, regardless, we're pushing into highs and false screams and fries. Highs are more so about throat control than abdominal exertion. I'm going to show you the passageway with a similar method I used to help you guys find that low passageway. For fries and false chord, you're essentially going to be using the same spot. I mean, fries might be just like a touch higher with like a little bit of extra constriction. You're going to use less airflow. A good example of someone who has excellent fries is Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder. If you listen to death metal or any metal of any kind, you've probably heard of the Black Dahlia Murder. Yeah, he's just excellent. His live sound is absolutely perfect, and he's fast. Like his rapid succession is enviable to everybody, I think, that even tries to do his songs. So alright, so we're moving on to the fry vocals. I'm going to go ahead and just show you all where the location is at. It's going to be the highest out of all the ones we covered. It's going to require the least amount of air, and it's just going to be the one you can hold out the longest. So if you do really great diaphragm stretches and you just got a huge lung capacity. One of my buddies held out a fry for, I think, it was 32 seconds right in front of me, and I was I was pretty taken aback. I'm like, holy crap, dude! It was pretty incredible. So I can't do that. My fry control is, I start pushing into like false chord territory. Like I don't have enough finesse. But you know, I mean, I suppose you have a range of how much force you can still use in a fry to still have it technically considered a fry vocal. All right, so the passageway is going to be way up there. I know a lot of people say that like you want to sound like almost like achieve like a Marge Simpson, like mumble in your throat. Like it's gonna be up there. I'll show you. I'm gonna get up on this microphone and hum, and then I'm gonna slowly drop down so you can hear the rattle. You're gonna be listening for a rattle again, and that rattle, the area where the rattle's at, is gonna be where you're gonna want to centralize the compression. So I'm up top. You know you're hitting that rattle when you get natural starts and stops in the consistency of your voice, and it's pretty obvious when you hit it. You feel it, and it's all about just trying to figure out like how to constrict that. I'm gonna start with my regular voice, and then I'm gonna move into a fry. Man, excuse me, I haven't warmed up, so. Alright guys, so there you can see I did one fry scream and I played it twice. I played it once with music and once without. So you could really hear the difference, because when you're doing a fry scream, it sounds very, very different on top of a track. It's really a weak scream, but that's the beauty of it. It's not something you need to use all the time. I mean, if you're great, like Black Dahlia Murder, you can use it all the time and be like, yeah, F y'all, I'm awesome. But it's just not realistic for me. It might be for you, though. So definitely experiment with it. If I could do it all the time, I definitely would. All right. So we're going to move into the false chord highs. This is the one I'm more comfortable with. You'll hear me using this on all my tracks. You'll hear a fry occasionally, but I'm really all about the false chord. This is the technique I was talking about at the beginning of the video that I used way too forcefully when I was younger. Playing shows every night, long sets, really aggressive tracks, little time to breathe, chest was getting tight, just like, and then in the end I'm ending up pushing out of my throat instead of like any type of passage. Just end up like literally gagging on your own scream, just trying to finish a damn song. And my dumbass, like, I should have just stopped or cut the song short or cut lyric, but I'm like, no, I gotta do it like the CD, I don't care. And do it till your damn voice is in ruin. So don't do that. It's pointless. You're only gonna do damage. But I almost thought I lost my high vocals for a minute. I had a very sharp pain. I think I really damaged my highs after my tour with As They Sleep, because they had a lot of songs like Black Dahlia Murder, and their highs are just like really rapid succession, and I was doing them with false chord, trying to match the studio album. Don't do it. Just don't do it. They were like, dude, Wayne, why are you trying to match a CD? That shit's crazy. I'm like, because it's got to be the same. Like, I'm over that. It's like, but I was able to rebuild my highs, luckily. I don't know how I did it. They're slightly different, but I can do them again. So they're some type of damn blessing from, I don't know what it is. But, all right, so we're going to get into it. Like I said, at the gates, listen to them. If you want to learn how to do false chords, highs really well, he's the perfect example. Last thing about false chords before I get into giving you guys an example here is they're really great for sitting on top of any mix, whether it be live or in the studio. You really don't have to do a lot to them because of the wide frequency range that this scream covers. It's got low end, it's got mids, it's got highs. It's like a nice full body sound that can just fit on top of anything without requiring much carving. I love them for that. They're great for layering too. I would definitely recommend them for layering. The fries, I'm gonna show you guys where it is in the throat. It's literally like a centimeter below that Marge Simpson spot. Like, it's just a little bit lower. Instead of with fries, I visualize it as reaching up, and false highs I visualize reaching out, because you're going to be using force and projecting it forward. Fries are more about just keeping that compression and sustainability upward, if that makes sense. It's hard for me to explain it any other way, but I will get that rumble in the throat. I think I'm recording. There it is. So yeah, it's just like a little bit below that Marge Simpson. Like, there's only 4 main parts in your throat that will give you that rattle, and that's for fries, false highs, mids, and lows. Everything else is it's not gonna rattle. So those are gonna be your main locations. Just listen and feel for that, and you'll know where to centralize the force from.
You live to spread the lies within your tortured mind. You could find within your boundary side.
Alright guys, so that was the false chord. As you can see, it's really difficult to transition from my clean voice directly into it. It's better to just jump into it. As soon as you hit it, it's just like, it's a night and day difference. It's like flipping a switch. So that just goes to show you how little bit of compression makes a really big difference. That scream is done with more force from my stomach, and it's just more of like a full body sound. That's why I prefer it for layering under my lows or under like my mids. It sounds good under both.
Your boundary side.
So there you all have it. We're gonna move on to mids real quick. I got 3 different types of mids. One which is more of like a crispy, distorted mid, and then we have a very powerful mid, and then we have a melodic mid, where it's like similar to Gojira, where like he can hit singing notes with his mid, which is pretty cool. I love the sound of it, and yeah, I can't wait to get into it. But we're gonna start with the Christian Alvestam method. He uses like a crispy, nice distortion. Doesn't need that much diaphragm pushing to achieve the sound. So it's like slightly distorted, slightly powerful. It sits right in the middle, and it cuts through any mix, which is awesome. It can almost sound like a pirate voice at times. Like if you do it with no music, it's really unique. The phrase that I like to use to remind myself and other people where the location of this scream is I'll say, "Aw, man." So when you say "aw," that's gonna be kind of like the general location of the rattle for this one. So yeah, I guess we'll just go up here and find the rattle, right? So this technique is really based on the arc of your mouth, the shape of your mouth, and the hollowness and the wideness of the way you keep your throat open while performing this. This is going to give it that wide sound without having to put the extra force to get it. I could play an example of Christian Alvestam's mid right here. Boom. Alright, so now you can kind of see the sound that I'm going to be trying to achieve here. I'll go ahead and slap it on some music, and you all can hear it for yourself. Alright guys, the first thing you're going to notice when I'm performing this is the hollowness of the sound of my voice, and the shape of my mouth when I'm doing it.
Trapped inside a river of denial.
Yeah, so like I'm a real fan of that. It's really different from the other tones. So it really does make a great backing track, especially for lows. It just adds this extra level of brutality, and it sounds great on its own.
I have found myself drowning again. The father of thunder, my noise maker.
Although it's airy and doesn't require as much force, it still cuts through the mix, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, do what you want with it. Another way to explain it is I like to say the word like claw or like cold. Like it just, when you say words like that with that type of a vowel enunciation, it just rolls off the tongue a lot easier. That's how I learned how to do it, and I learned how to do it by listening to Christian Alvestam on just like a regular basis. So yeah, okay, let's move on to Angela Gossow. Alright, so like a more powerful false chord version of the mid is just slightly lower than that. It's fragments lower. If you push too hard through that the passage I just used, it just doesn't work because there's so much natural echo and reverberation when you're using that mid that it just doesn't work when you add force. You can't enunciate stuff properly, and it's really hard to understand what you're saying, and I really like people to know what I'm saying in my lyrics. So yeah, we'll go about doing this. So the passage is just going to be a little bit lower, and you're going to use your diaphragm to push it. This is also a great technique because it cuts through any mix, live and in the studio. Angela can just manage to do it all day long, and I don't know how she does it. She's better than most dudes. Like, it's pretty incredible. Plus she can like do windmills in between too. She's just one metal chick. I don't know what her deal is. Something about Sweden. I think she manages them now. I don't know if she still does that. But yeah, here we go. Alright guys, so you're going to be able to see the difference between Angela's and Christian's mid. You can see how about a little bit of force from the same spot, change of constraint, really changes the whole sound. So, it should be coming on here in just a second.
Terrorize the weak boys of the innocent. Addicted to the crime. Now they really sin. Now they really sin.
Alright guys, so I'm not really going to spend too much time on the false chord mid. I mean, I went about the basic principles. We know where it comes from, how much constraint we need, how much force we need, which is more than the distortion mid. Everything else I taught you, or you need to know, I taught you in the growl section. So if you skipped over that, go back, watch the growl section, apply what I taught you there, and everything else I talked about before this, and you'll be doing that mid false chord in no time. So we're going to go on to the Gojira section. This mid involves using really a hybrid of both the distortion mid, the false chord mid, and your regular singing chords. So this is a bit of a tricky one. This is one I actually probably learned about a year ago. I've been practicing it for years and years, guys. Like, actually, if you watch my first How to Scream, I was even trying to do it back then. I had it in the experimental scream section. Like, it's been just an infinite learning curve. I don't think I was meant to do this kind of vocal style, but I wanted to learn how to do it anyway. What I've learned, as far as trying to learn how to do this, you want to try and hit notes while you're projecting your mids, but there's only so many notes you can really hit. So what you need to do is find the initial central note, and then try to expand from there slowly. Because if you try too hard to reach up and hit a note higher, or try too hard to reach a note lower, you're just going to tear your vocal cords. It's something you need to stretch and stretch and stretch. Now, the number one thing about this technique is how much of your real chords should you actually throw into this technique. And honestly, I can't tell you the exact amount. Everybody's going to be different, and I'm not sure everybody can do this technique, but I think that you can do something similar to it to an extent. Just like I can't do it exactly like the singer from Gojira, but I can get pretty damn close. You'll see it later in the video. So yeah, we're gonna go into how to actually achieve the sound. So I highly recommend you learn, at least get familiar with the two mid techniques I talked about before this. Try to do them. Get comfortable with how much force you need, and then after that, you're really gonna be taking and like transferring some of that constraint that you use from the false chord and moving it up. So you're gonna have less distortion in more of your actual chords. So like it's gonna be like a weight, like, because right now when you do a false chord, it's all distortion and no regular vocal chords involved. But we're gonna just kind of like move the scale. It's gonna be kind of like this. So it's only gonna be a little bit of your singing chords you're throwing into it, just enough to hit a note, and then the rest is gonna be the distortion. That's really the key, because so just think of it like a scale, man. Like you're not putting really that much. It's tricky. It really is. And another thing is when you're hitting syllables as you're doing this technique, it's very important to have instant starts and stops when you hit the notes. Like,
chaos of waters have invaded our space.
So you hear when I'm like going up and down from like each note, it's instant. I'm not like
chaos of waters.
Like, that's not how you do it.
Chaos of waters.
He just like hits it. And that's how you protect your vocal cords. If you do it the weird way I just did it, like that's way over exaggerating, but just do whatever you can to try and not do that. The more you add your regular chords into it, the harder it's gonna be able to do consistently. You're gonna start getting like voice cracks, starts and stops, and it's like just think of the scale technique I was talking about. Like, that way is the most consistent way to do it. And also, when you're doing this technique, you really have to visualize, any singing teacher will tell you this, shooting over your palate. You're shooting up and over, because if you're like aiming down, if you're trying to project downward with your voice when you're doing this,
chaos of waters,
it doesn't work.
Chaos of waters. Waters of chaos have invaded our space.
Alright guys, here goes the Gojira vocals. I'm gonna overemphasize my note changes so you guys will be able to hear them. Here we go.
Yeah, I see the big moon rising. I see trouble on the way. I see hurricanes and lightning. I see big dusting.
Alright guys, we're going into the final section of the video on the gutturals. These are awesome. I know a lot of you want to know how to do this. The two styles I'm doing is George Fisher and Mitch Luker, just because they're like death metal style gutturals. Like, I'm not trying to do no toilet bowl gutturals. I like vocals you can understand and they have body and they sound good naturally. Like, I think grindcore toilet bowl vocals are annoying in my opinion, but well, I'm gonna get so much hate for that. But yeah. So the thing about these vocals is they follow a lot of the same principles as a growl. We're just dropping it down way lower. Like the best way for me to explain when I'm doing a Cannibal Corpse vocal is it's a drier sound. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with Mitch Luker's lows. They're very wet. He doesn't really enunciate much because he relies more on like a distortion of the size of his mouth when he's doing it. It's like real small, and his cheeks are squeezed in. Like, that adds wetness and a lot of high frequency sounds. While George Fisher relies more on just like the force coming up from his diaphragm and pushing through. They're more mid sounds. So his vocals are gonna cut through any mix powerfully with ease. Well, Mitch Luker style mids, you're gonna need to do a little EQing to make it sound good. I've tested them both in the studio, and I gotta say I would rather do Cannibal Corpse slows any day. But we're gonna get into it. So there's really no easy way for me to explain how to do a guttural, because once again it follows a lot of the same principles as the growl. You're just doing it lower. So I can kind of show you the difference between a regular growl and a guttural. I'll do some lyrics from Scourge of Iron, and I'll sing a line one way with growls. I'll do it once with gutturals. All right, guys. So I'm gonna do a growl and I'm gonna do a guttural.
Possession of the damned.
That's a pretty okay growl, I guess. And here's a guttural.
Possession of the damned.
So I had a little bit extra reverberation down here.
You just delay yourself. Disordered desolation of their souls.
All right, guys. Final note for the. All right, guys. Final note on the George Fisher style, like guttural. I hope you guys are starting to see more and more that these techniques are all generalized around learning one bass technique. Like the gutturals are all based around understanding the growl and then finding out a way to alter it and change the way you reverberate it in your throat. Like I used extra reverberation in my larynx to just give it that lower sound and just make it sound deeper. Everything I'm showing you on every technique is all echo effects. The shape of your mouth, the place where you choose to bounce the sound inside of you. So the thing is, you just want to do it all below your regular vocal cords. Anything above is going into danger zone, and it's just going to affect your consistency. Okay, so let's do our final technique. This is like the Suicide Silence type of guttural that Mitch Luker would use. The difference between this one and the Cannibal Corpse style one is this one sounds a little bit wetter in the mix, and it's actually easier to use this style and transition to something like a Fry that he does. 'Cause, you know, he goes real low and real high instantly. He figured out a way to do it. And when you're using like a Cannibal Corpse style vocal, it's the reverberation that you use, like I said earlier, is down in your larynx, where he uses more reverberation with his mouth shape, which gives it like a wetter sound, a little bit higher frequency, vocals. But regardless, it's still really low, and it allows him to switch to his Fry on the fly consistently. That's why he was able to do it so live. So like if you go watch like a live video or a live performance from Suicide Silence, he's really good, and he's able to do it just like that. So that's what kind of made me want to like figure out what he was doing. Like, how is he getting that? You know, I put on headphones, really listen to his lows, and you'll notice that it's a little bit harder to understand what he's saying. His enunciations not as clear as something like George Fisher. And also you'll notice that Suicide Silence's guitar tone isn't quite as clear as something that Cannibal Corpse would put out. So his lows are very unique. I'll show you how to do them. I'll show you the difference. I'll do both types of gutturals, and you'll be able to hear the difference. And his lows don't really cut through the mix as well, so the guitar tones will suffer in the studio. Because like, if you listen to Cannibal Corpse guitars, they're crispy, loud, thundering, and George Fisher's voice soars right across the top of it, no problem. So yeah, let's do like a little comparison here real quick. Alright, let me get my headphones here. Alright, so I'm gonna do a line from like a Suicide Silence song. I'm gonna try and do both gutturals. I'll do Cannibal Corpse one first, and then do Suicide Silence one. So here we go.
Where is your God? Where is your God? Where is your fucking God?
So that would be like a Cannibal Corpse. Now let's do like a Suicide Silence.
Where is your God? Where is your God? Where is your fucking God?
Okay, so there you can see, you can hear there's a lot more muffling up in my mouth. You see the way my cheeks moved when I did that and how small my mouth was? Like, he uses his tongue to kind of form words and uses his mouth shape to get that tone. Yeah, you can see, you can kind of get the same sound, but they're coming from different places. Just play around with it, guys.
You just delay yourself to find free the space. Let me know that you're this grave.
Alright, guys, so final note for that one. I don't know, just don't be afraid to let the spit fly, I guess. Like, the wetter your throat is, like, the better. Like, drink, like, you know, warm tea, honey, whatever, and keep your throat lubricated, your mouth. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you figured out something from this, and yeah, it was a blast. Don't forget to check my EP down below. You can check it out on any streaming service. If you guys really dig it, y'all can thank me by picking up a copy of the EP. That would be excellent. Help me keep this damn studio running, and help me finish this CD up. I'd love to put out a full album for you guys. If you have any questions, like, just hit me up in the comments. I'll be more than happy to respond to you. You can add me on Facebook, follow me on there. I'm always posting new stuff, goofy stuff, posting my new original stuff on there, and, like, music I like. So, yeah, feel free to follow me on there, on Twitter, wherever. Thank you again. If you guys have any more vocal techniques you wanna learn how to do, or you have questions about, hit me up in the comments, and I can make a quick 5-minute video, figure something out for you guys, and help you out. My name's Wayne Hudspath, and keep it fucking metal.